All right. Bringing another episode of the Steve Jeltz Appreciation Society. Um, tell you what, man. As we record this, the Phillies are over 500.
Thank fucking God.
Feels good.
Or should we thank Callum Scott?
Yeah, there's two things that are going on. One, they're using a particular song. What song might that be?
Dancing on my own.
Yeah, so apparently that was kind of brought up, I guess, by Garrett Stubbs.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Garrett Stubbs. And
That sounds like this if you haven't heard it.
Somebody said you got a new friend. Does she love
Anyway, that's enough of that. The funniest thing I saw was an article saying that we all need to add it to our playlist and pretend we like it again.
that's pretty funny. No, so look, we've got that going on. It kind of feels like there's something brewing again. They've been a bit hot lately. They just took 3 out of 4 from Arizona. It was a fantastic series where 3 of the 4 games were one-run games. They won 2 of those 3. The third win of that series was a 15-3 blowout. Just whatever. It is what it is. Those games happen.
Right.
And look, Arizona is not a bad team. You're talking about the National League Western Division leaders. My thing with Arizona is you've got a hot young offense, and quite frankly, pitching wise, from what I saw, what they had outside of Merrill Kelly, and I know they've got Zach Gallen, I wasn't impressed.
Right.
And I think that's going to be their ultimate fault. Look, they're in the division with the Dodgers. I'm sorry, but the Dodgers are going to find some way to take first place. That's what LA does.
There's no way that they're not going to end up winning that division.
No.
If they, I mean, barring any kind of catastrophic failure on their part, there's no way they don't win that division. Arizona very well could end up with one of the wild cards. I can see that happening. Like you said, they're a very good team. It's going to be tough because that is the National League West is a tough division, much like the NL East. But they could do it. They could do it.
I do want to have your thoughts on this as we record this. A couple of nights ago during the blowout game, you had a very interesting play where JT Realmuto does a short fly ball to left field, which is subsequently caught by one Corbin Carroll, who's a hell of a baseball player. Let's not make that mistake.
Yeah, no, he is.
Good ball player. But then decides to go back to basically pick up his hat. Or not JT doesn't hit it. I'm sorry. He's on third at this point. And Cody Clemens is up. And my apologies there. But then JT realizes that as he's looking away, the ball hasn't been thrown back to the infield whatsoever. JT does JT things, takes off, and subsequently scores. And the look on Carroll's face is priceless.
I messaged you about this. I played baseball from the time I was 5 until, like junior year of high school. Played some Garden State League. I didn't really play in high school because coach was a douchebag, but that's besides the point. Also, I kind of sucked. I was better in Garden State than I was in high school. And I played softball when I was in the Air Force. And I like to think I know how to play the game. And I like to think that I wouldn't make a mistake like this because you're taught at a very young age to keep your head in the game and to know have your situational awareness about how many outs there are. Be thinking about while the batter is in the batter's box before the pitch is thrown. Be thinking about the situations where you're going to throw the ball should it come to you, where your cutoff is going to be, whether you're going for the lead runner, whether you're going for what your goal is to do once the ball reaches you. I've never seen it. People were saying it's a rookie mistake. It's a rookie mistake if you're a freshman playing baseball on your high school team. It's a rookie mistake in T-ball, in Little League. Dude, I don't buy the rookie mistake in the majors. Nerves, maybe, if it was the first game of the season, but it wasn't the first game of the season. It wasn't spring training. It was a game a quarter of the way through the season, more than a quarter of the way through the season, and you're making this as a professional, you're making this mistake. Where the fuck is your head?
Yeah, it was watching the play, and I've watched it several times now. It was very lackadaisical. And again, look, we all make mistakes every single day of our lives. But it was so weird because it was so blatant. It was almost very obvious that there was only one out.
Right.
You just caught out number 2. And not only that, it's like, hey, I'm just going to go back to get my hat. Completely forgot. And the problem is, I don't know that if people are going to sit there and act like he forgot the number of outs or whatever that is, with what you're saying about situational awareness, that situation was there was a runner at third base. And that's what he forgot. Like, point blank. And
Right.
JT took full advantage, and the Phillies just ran roughshod over that team. I will say that Diamondbacks had one other player that I was really intrigued by, McCarthy. I think it's Jake McCarthy, outfielder. My goodness, that guy's got Trey Turner speed. It's fun to watch him. I honestly did not know about that guy until this series, so that was kind of cool. But the Phillies took 3 of 4 of the Diamondbacks. They're heading into Oakland, who that's another topic we can quickly hit here. It's been approved in Nevada for basically them to build their $380 million complex. Dude, what's the next few seasons going to look like in Oakland?
Ugly. And did you see they did the protest the other day?
I did. Yeah, it was actually Daniel and I were talking about that, and it seems like that they had an attendance of, I think, near 28,000. And it sounds like they had all of 2 gates open to let people in because there was long lines of people to still get in basically after they announced the attendance.
Right.
Because they don't care anymore. Like, they're all done. And that's a sin to me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It makes me sick. These are fans who they're in I don't want to say an impoverished city, but I mean, the city's not great.
No.
And they've lost their football team multiple times.
Yeah.
And now they're about to lose their baseball team to the same fucking city.
Yeah.
They've dealt with a penny pinching owner, a team that just has not wanted to spend money, a dilapidated stadium. It really reminds me of Major League, where I mean, think about what happened in the movie Major League. The owner wanted to move the team, so they employed like the lowest budget players they could afford. They had Charlie Sheen's character coming out of jail. Like they signed a dude that was dead.
Yeah.
They had like all these like it's a joke but it's not a good one. And I feel bad for the people of Oakland. They don't deserve this, man. They deserve better. They deserve a better owner. They deserve a better situation. And I feel horrible for them. I hope quite honestly, and this is going to sound bad, I really hope they fail in Los Angeles. They won't, or in Las Vegas. They won't, because Vegas is starved for teams. And with the success that the Golden Knights just had with winning the Stanley Cup, they beat the Flyers record for the fastest expansion team to win a Stanley Cup. They did it in 6 years. So, they had great success in doing that. And Vegas is a sports hungry town now. And with the Raiders, with the Knights, with the A's coming in, people are going to support them. The owners are going to make money. It's going to be lucrative. And I just wish that Major League Baseball would strip the fucking team from the ownership. And but they seem inept, and they seem like they're not putting the team out there and playing in good faith. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Here's the thing that cracks me up, and I've said this for years about the A's, and this is going to sound really funny coming from me. I'd like to think that I have somewhat of a decent knowledge about the analytical side of baseball. I've read Moneyball. I've seen Moneyball. I'm a big fan of Billy Beane. He's currently still the EVP, Executive Vice President of the Athletics. What I still find funny about Billy Beane and all the accolades that he gets is that the only World Series under his belt was when he won one as a player in 1989. He's never done one as the GM, as whatever title he has executively. I'm sorry, you can spend no money and try to say, oh, yeah, we have a 90-win club, and, we have this great team from 10 years ago that was so awesome. What did they do? Did they win the World Series? No, they didn't. No one remembers that.
Right.
That's great that your payroll was $20 million, and I'm so glad that you made the playoffs. Nobody remembers that.
Right.
They remember, winning the World Series, or by God, you had a great run and you did something, but no, I just, there's got to be something to him being in charge for how many years now. And I don't know. I know he's not fully in charge anymore, but has basically helped to walk this team out the door. Seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's disgusting to me. It's absolutely disgusting. I hate that Major League Baseball. And look, I'm not a fan of the leagues being able to say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, because maybe there's a reason why they're doing certain things. But when it's this kind of situation where the team is clearly not operating in good faith, the team is clearly not trying to put a competitive team on the field, they're spending pennies on the dollar, and it's clear that they just don't care. They don't care about the product in the field. They don't care about their fans, the people that are paying for this shit. They're there to make a buck and to save as much as they can so that they can make some kind of investment down the road. And so that's exactly what it is.
I'm just going to run to you real quickly, and I do not mean to speak ill of any of these players, because all of these players are more well-known than either you and I probably will ever be. But maybe one of these days we'll catch a break.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through you real quickly the lineup that the Athletics threw out there tonight. And I'm just really curious to see how many of these people that you've actually heard of. Okay. Esteury Ruiz, Ryan Noda, Seth Brown, Brent Rooker, Jace Peterson, Carlos Perez, JJ Bleday, Kevin Smith, Tony Kemp.
Wait, they put Kevin Smith out there?
Exactly.
Oh, Richie's going to fucking hate them. Making a baseball movie? No, dude. Look, some of those names sound familiar, but it could be like a case of mistaken identity. Like the other day, I was looking at an article about the NHL, and it said something about the Buffalo Sabres having a promising young player by the name of Dylan Cousins, and I was like, wait a second, Dylan Cousins? Did we trade Dylan Cousins to Buffalo Sabres? And then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, he was a Philly. That's the only thing, is maybe they have a similar name or the same name. And because I knew, I don't know why I was confusing a Phillies player with a hockey player, but the names were exactly the same and spelled exactly the same. And I was just thinking Philadelphia, and now he's on the Sabres. How the fuck did that happen?
The one name that stuck out to me, and this is gonna be very sad. The biggest name that stuck out to me, other than the ones that like I've known from playing like MLB The Show, whatever, is JJ Bleday. I'm like, oh yeah, guy's like a star, and I'm like, why do I know that name? It's like he's not a star, but I know this name from somewhere. That's because he played college ball at Vanderbilt, and that's where we get most of our college baseball games off the SEC network. So it's like, oh yeah, he was a star at Vanderbilt.
And I want to see something real quick. While you've got that pulled up, I'm going to reach into my desk drawer here, and I'm going to pull out that stack of baseball cards that I have. The Topps baseball cards that I bought last year when Wawa was selling, which I'm kind of pissed off. Wawa's not selling, at least not here. Wawa hasn't had boxes of baseball cards.
I'm telling you, man, because it's their hot item.
Well, they had them last year. They had them like all year. I could walk to Wawa, or not walk to Wawa because it's fucking hot down here. But I would walk into Wawa, and I would almost every time, not every time, but I would walk into Wawa and I'd be like, oh, let's see, I'm gonna get my hoagie, and then I'm gonna buy a pack or two of Topps baseball. Let's see. All right, so do I have any A's in here? Diamondbacks. I have what's his name? You know what? That might actually be worth something. I have
the Pache card.
No, I wish. No, I had that dude from the Pirates that tore up his knee.
Oh gosh.
Can't remember his damn name.
Yeah, what's his name? Interesting name.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, what the heck is his name? Oh God, it's killing me. O'Neal Cruz. Yeah, O'Neal Cruz.
I have Diego Castillo. All right, so I don't have any A's in here, so I can't play that game. What I wanted to see was if any of them had actually played or were still playing for the A's. But no, I don't. I do have a card about Ohtani hitting his 100th home run. But yeah, I don't have 100th home run in the majors, I should say.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it. There's another real quick thing we could hit is my goodness, that guy.
Dude, let me tell you, I am so fucking scared that he's going to end up with the Mets.
He's going to end up with anyone else other than where he's at, and it's not going to be Philadelphia.
Why not?
Dude.
How great would that be? Dude, think about it this way. How awesome would it be if we got, and I don't care, Ohtani, I'm swinging for the fucking fences because you know what? Dave Middleton wants his fucking trophy back, and so do I. So Dave Middleton's going to tell him this offseason if they don't win it. All right, guess what, fuckers? You know who we're signing? Or you know who we're getting? We're getting fucking Ohtani. We're getting fucking Mike Trout. We're signing Don Mattingly. Fucking not Greg Brett. George Brett. We're signing anybody. Anybody and everybody is coming to the fucking Phillies this year. Doesn't matter. We're signing the ghost of Babe Ruth.
So who's our ace right now, pitching wise? Just throw me a name. Who do you think?
Me. No, it's Wheeler. It's got to be Wheeler.
So and even at that, so real quickly, and I'm looking at Wheeler. I'm going to throw him up here. The Wheeler's at a 3.73, 5-4, right?
Right.
It's going to crack you up. Ohtani is 5-2 with a 3.34 or 3.32. I'm sorry, and also has more home runs than Kyle Schwarber.
So he's better than our best,
and a bit higher batting average, I believe, than Bryce Harper right now.
Jesus. All right. What about what's his name? Castellanos has been hitting.
Now Nick's been throwing it down. So I can tell you what though. Here's the thing with Nick, and I've said this before. Just looking at his numbers, Nick's 315, only 8 home runs. Ohtani has 21, but Nick's hitting. He's doubles machine. Yeah. The thing with Nick though is that as good of a season he's having now, he is very hot and cold season wise.
Yep.
So he was an all-star in 21. He could very well be our only All-Star this year. I don't know that happens. Looks like Bryce might be that only taker there. I don't know that. But here's the thing that scares me the most right now is if I'm looking at the wins above replacement stat, which I like to look at. I think it's a fair stat. I know a lot of people have some disagreements about it. But Trey Turner, who we signed to $300 million plus contract, is currently at a 0.9. And only because he's really turned it up lately. It was really low before that.
Yeah.
Cody Clemens, who was a add-in on a trade.
Throw-in. Yeah, he was just a throw-in.
Is at 0.4. So we have $300 million Trey at a 0.9 and basically a throw-in on a trade that's not much lower. Trey Turner's regular stats are 249, 7 homers, 20 RBI. Cody Clemens' regular stats are 257, 4 homers, and 12 RBI. And the big difference is that Trey Turner has almost 3 times as many at-bats.
Well, I mean, look, like you said, Trey Turner's turned it on. I think it was really hard, and I don't know, maybe it's unique to him. Maybe there's something to what I'm about to say. I don't know because honestly, I haven't been looking at the stat. I don't really give 2 shits about other teams. I only give a shit about the Phillies. Like I'm a baseball fan, but mostly just the Phillies. Whereas like I'll know stats and stuff for hockey teams and football teams. Obviously football because of fucking fantasy.
Right.
For other players and stuff. But with baseball, I tend to just focus on the Phils. How have the other players who played in the World Baseball Classic, at least on Team USA, how have their stats fared versus other, versus the rest of the league? Like, is Trey Turner in a group where all of them kind of flagged a little bit at the beginning of the season and now they're starting to turn it up? Or how did that work out? Because my biggest thing is it's got to be hard to be going at a win-win-win pace, step it down to go back to the ending of spring training, and then ramp it back up.
I would say that, and here's my thing. I don't know, because you have Ohtani and Trout were in it, right? Because you had that big matchup there.
And didn't Castellanos Castellanos and Real Muto were also both on Team USA, right?
JT and
was it Castellanos or was it Schwarber?
No, it was Schwarber.
Okay.
Schwarber is just whatever. He's gonna constantly hit under 200, but hit 40 home runs, just how he is.
Adam Dunn 2.0.
Yeah, love him to death, but he just he's always gonna have more home runs than singles. The thing is, like Trout, he was there. Now his average is low. It's lower than his career. He's a career 300 hitter, but he's hitting low, but he's still Trout. He's 14 home runs, still knocking runs in. And I think that's the big thing, though, is that you have players like Ohtani who were in it. Japan won it, and he's still performing at a super high level. Maybe you're right, though. Trout's average is lower. Turner has been performing nearly where he's at. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be completely, maybe it's a player by player basis. Maybe I'm just connecting things that are completely unrelated. But that was kind of my thought process, was maybe, and not that I would say, oh man, I don't want my guys playing in the World Baseball Classic, because no, I do. I want my players playing. I want to win the fucking World Baseball Classic every year that it gets played. I don't give a shit.
That was, I'll be honest with you, I watched most of the USA games and a couple of the other countries playing, and I was vested in. Like, I was vested, not obviously not as much as the Phillies in the World Series,
right,
nor the Phillies in the playoffs, but like it was so cool because it was like I felt like this was meaningful baseball at a time where there shouldn't be meaningful baseball.
Right.
Because spring training is like, whatever, it is what it is. Your stars get an at bat a game and they move on. This was like top level. And the cool thing was you had like players like Garrett Stubbs, who, is our backup. He was representing Israel, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a cool thing. We've talked about that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it was really cool because you had like players like that got some like legit screen time, if you will, more so than like, oh yeah, he gets to play every Sunday, for the Phillies.
Right.
But no, it's cool. So all right, enough on the Phils. Let's finish up some Flyers talk here.
All right. So the Flyers have started making some moves as far as getting their front office together, getting their player personnel people together. They got Patrick Sharp to join the team. They got John LeClaire they brought back as I think part of player development. But what was really interesting and what I really liked when I heard it was a quote from Wayne Gretzky and his parting words for Keith Jones, because they were part of the TNT coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals, which we mentioned. The Stanley Cup Finals are over. Vegas, congrats to the Vegas Golden Knights, fastest expansion team to ever win a cup. I feel like I do have to say I feel like they were kind of set up for it. I feel like the expansion rules, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. The expansion rules have changed since the last major expansion. And by that, I mean, when who did Nashville come in with? Nashville came in with the Thrashers, I think. And they were not set up well for success. When Ottawa and the Lightning and the Panthers and them all came in, they weren't set up really well for success, but the Sharks and all them, but the Knights were set up from the get-go. They had changed the expansion protection rules, and they ended up with a loaded team. So much so that I believe they were I don't remember if they were in the finals in their first year.
Their first year. So here's the thing. I'll run really quickly. You say loaded, so just so people are aware of this. Every single season they've been in existence, with the exception of the last season, they've been in the playoffs. Right. Lost in the first round in 18-19, lost in the conference finals the year after, lost in the Stanley Cup semifinals the year after that, did not qualify last year. Obviously, they win it all this year.
Yeah. So they've been set up to go, man. They got a run and start. And, and obviously part of that is due to their front office, and kudos to them for having a smart front office, making good moves, bringing in good players and their player development. But anyway, back to the issue at hand. So the Flyers recently completely cleared out their front office, cleared out everything. And they hired Keith Jones and Danny Briere to act as co-GM, which typically in the past, the Flyers have had this issue where they have relied too much on former players to come in and run things. Now, it was Paul Holmgren, Bobby Clark, guys like that, retread coaches who played for him, Craig Berube, I'm losing it here. But players that played for him that they brought back to coach and stuff like that. And it was always the same people, just Ron Hextall as GM, just coming through and making the same mistakes over and over and over again, trying to recreate the past. Much as I may not like to admit it, hockey has changed. It's not the time of the Broad Street Bullies anymore.
Right.
It's, hockey's become a more skill-based game. It's a faster game. Yeah, there's still a lot of hitting, but there's not as much fighting. It's not predicated on that. You don't have enforcers on each team, which but I digress. where I feel like they made a good choice on who they're bringing in now. Finally, they're starting over. They're starting an actual rebuild. They're trading off pieces. Did we talk about the Provorov trade the other day? The last Jeltz we did. Basically, Ivan Provorov, he's a talented player. His rookie year, he played with Mats Niskanen. Looked like he was set up to be the next superstar defenseman. Niskanen retires after that season. Hasn't been the same since. He's a minus player. He's a defenseman who can't defend. He's not scoring points like he should be. The potential's there. He's not living up to it.
Right.
Danny Briere is his first official move. Trades him and gets a fucking haul. Gets us another first round pick. Gets players that can slot in now. Hits an absolute home run of a move. Wayne Gretzky, in speaking with Keith Jones and speaking about Keith Jones, as he's leaving the TNT broadcast to join the Flyers front office, he says, I know Mr. Snyder's looking down, and he knows he got the right guy to do that job. And that was on Jonesy leaving the TNT booth to be the Flyers president of hockey operations. So you look at, Wayne Gretzky, obviously the great one, that's some great praise from him. He knows hockey, obviously, and he can see Keith Jones's aptitude for hockey. And for him to make that statement, it just further endorses it. I was sold on this to begin with. I love Jonesy. I love Danny Briere. And I think that they've got a lot to bring to the table. And I really have faith, and I really hope that this is going to be the turnaround that the Flyers organization has so badly needed. And that they can get the Flyers back to a legitimate, meaningful team sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, and here's where I'll say my piece on the Flyers here. Phillies playing meaningful baseball pretty much and have for the last couple of years. And really, honestly, ever since the Harper signing, quite to be honest with you. Eagles, obviously, look, let's talk about that. Sixers even, we're talking 3 playoff teams out of the 4. We throw in the Union, we're talking 4 out of 5. I think this is a good thing. And maybe we get that conversation back in where it's like, hey, come back to the family.
Right. Right. And honestly, because really they're an afterthought right now.
They are.
If you think of it, like, that's the only good thing about where the Flyers are at as far as how bad they've been is I'm going to be in a situation to be able to take Peyton to some games, and I'm not going to be fighting for tickets. I should be able to get some relatively good seats for relatively cheap to go see NHL hockey. And look, the Flyers may get their asses kicked, but at least we'll be at an NHL game supporting our team.
Right.
Peyton hasn't gotten to see any NHL hockey up close and personal. He's seen some ECHL. He loves hockey. It's his favorite sport. And he really wants to go to some Flyers games. So I should be able to make that happen relatively easily. But I'm hoping that this is really, there's certain like touchstone moments that you can point to of when organizations start to turn a corner. With the Phillies, it's obviously the signing of Bryce Harper and bringing in JT Realmuto. With the Eagles, it's the turnaround that they made in 2020 when they, or 2021, I should say, when they jettisoning Carson Wentz, transitioning to Jalen Hurts as the starter, and they start off awful. And then it's like all of a sudden something clicked with the team. And they go on that run at the end of the year. And granted, they played some shit teams to make it into the playoffs. But the bottom line is they made it into the playoffs and then turned that momentum into a Super Bowl run the next year. Right? there's these moments in time that you can see where something starts to crystallize and you can build on that. And I'm really hoping that this offseason, with this reworking of the front office, reworking of hockey operations, and reworking of the franchise itself, getting rid of players that haven't lived up to their contracts and getting new players in, that this is really the start of something good for the Philadelphia Flyers.
No, and to close us up here, you got any parting words about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Fuck Dallas!